Stay at home.
Stay at home.
With your host,
Magdoni.
Hey, awesome people, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, of course. That depends on what part of the world you're listening to me from. This is Stay at Home Podcast with Magdoni, of course, and that happens to be me. You know, it's really fantastic getting to know how the coronavirus outbreak and the activities surrounding it is getting to change and affect our lives. You know, I've come to learn about certain things recently. Some families have got to hear that the women are actually happy somehow that there's a coronavirus because the husbands get to be at home, to get to see what they go through with the children. So the husband get to understand that that family, taking care of family is not really an easy business. And on the other parts too, some women are happy that the coronavirus is on ground, that their husbands get to stay at home with them. Their cheating husbands don't get to miss their partners anymore and get to stay more often at home with them. So they're happy. Come on, people. I mean, how did we get here in the first place? Anyway, will I say different strokes for different people, because as a lot of us are clamoring for the outbreak to go away, I think some people are actually having a good time with the virus here. So to these wonderful moms out there, congratulations! Your brothers and partners, right? Thank you very much. Well, the same, the coronavirus is not a good thing, and we must do everything that is in our powers to make sure we send it away. Whether some people are happy with it or not, we must make sure the coronavirus leaves us, and that depends on how seriously we take all the actions that we've been asked to take. So, have you washed your hands today? And if you're at work, do you have a sanitizer around you? And if you're at home, have you been observing and practicing some of the tips that we've been sharing so far on this podcast? And really, I hope you've not been visiting people or getting yourself into crowded areas. But I know that we're all good people, so I trust that we've been doing all the right things that we're supposed to do to keep the coronavirus right away from us. And so, on that note, once again, I welcome you to yet another fantastic episode of Stay at Home Podcast with Magdoni, and that Magdoni happens to be me. Yeah. Without further ado, I think we should hit the ground running right away. Just as it is the tradition on the show, of course, we've got something today to help us have the best of our time while self-isolating. And did you know that reading actually can help you become a better person, can help you actually become more empathetic and have a better judgment regarding situations? Okay, coming up in seconds is the stay-at-home tip of the day, and we get to listen to Rita Carter. She's a science writer, lecturer, and broadcaster. She's going to definitely tell us how reading can help us achieve this and even more. Stay at home tip of the day.
I'm talking about reading. But I'm not talking about the sort of reading that we all know is incredibly important. That is, the sort of reading we do for education, the sort of reading we do for administration, the sort of reading which we have to do nowadays just to get through life. I'm talking rather about fiction, stories, narratives. The sort of reading where you are reading things from inside another person's head, where it takes you right inside the character's emotions and feelings and actions, so you are seeing it from their perspective. That's the sort of reading which is at best thought of as pleasurable. It allows us to, just at least for a moment, to step outside our own heads and see the world for a bit from other people's point of view. And the same faculty, by extension, opens our whole worlds to us, because it allows us to imagine what it's like to be somewhere else, doing something else, seeing it in a different way. And thus, people who don't have it are quite severely handicapped, particularly in social life. They find relationships very difficult, and more than that, they are limited by a very limited imagination, because without that ability to step outside yourself, it's difficult to imagine anything, really. Because the important thing about reading is that you are not just learning what's going on in that person's head. You too, to a certain extent, are experiencing it. And there's a very big difference there. It's the same with everything with pain. If you watch or read about somebody in pain, the same bits of the brain that will be active if you were feeling the pain will become active as well. And some people feel this so much that they actually do feel and report the pain. Same with anger, same with any emotion, same even with quite complicated intellectual things like judgments, moral judgments, and so on. So, in conclusion, I'm really giving the same message, I think, as Delia, the speaker before, which is that your brain needs a workout as much as your body. And reading fiction seems to be one of the best workouts you can get. And not only is it good for you, but it's also good for society as a whole, because the brain is like a muscle. The more you force yourself through books to take other people's perspectives, to sympathize, to empathize with other people, the more empathetic society we will have. Thank you.
And that's just about it. I'm sure you've heard it from Rita Carter herself. And, just like she has said, we tend to actually understand the situation better if we really understand the reasons or what brought about this situation in the first place. So, before you pick a stick to spank your child this morning, have you taken time to understand why she or he took the action that you're angry with? And before you lash out on your spouse for being such an insensitive person, have you taken a moment to walk in their shoes? Anyway, I think she has pretty much said everything that there is to say about this particular issue. So we'll just head straight to the next segment of the show. Coming up in seconds will be the coronavirus update. So here we go. I'll talk to you guys on the other side. And now, the coronavirus update. And hey, today on the coronavirus update, we're beginning with an interesting story coming from Yaoundé, Cameroon, where a 19-year-old who tested positive to the virus has given birth to a bouncing baby girl safely without complications, of course, after she went into emergency labor over the weekend. I know what you're thinking. Now, don't worry. The doctors actually wore protections and definitely didn't let her touch the baby after she was born. And the New Zealand's Health Minister David Clark has been officially demoted after flaunting the country's lockdown procedure. What did he do? He drove his family to the beachside on the first weekend of the country's lockdown. Come on, the Health Minister. One would wonder that he should be the one in the forefront of enforcing this order in the first place. But as you can see, funny humans everywhere, really, if you ask me. Funny humans. And in a related development here in Nigeria, remember the popular Nollywood actress Funke Akindele, who doesn't know Jennifer? Yes, she and her husband JJC Skills have been sentenced to 14 days community service. Serves them right, eh? And so before I let this whole thing slide without doing anything, of course, how about I administer some justice? How about I do some justice to this situation? So to you, Funke and JJC, hey, turn your back. Turn your back. Now don't look at me. Just turn your back here. Don't try this again. Don't try this again. And to you, Mr. Health Minister, here is for you. Be a good guy. Alright, that's it on the show today. Justice is done and served. Call me the judge, call me the jury, or you can as well call me the bad guy. Yes, I can be anything you want. But really, I'm out of here. Link up with us on all social media platforms. On Facebook and YouTube is at McDoney Planet. You can as well find me on Instagram and Twitter at Mike_McDoney. Have yourselves a fantastic day.